welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Long. With me, we have Mayor Rodney Grogan with the City of Patterson. Congratulations to you for being elected once again as the mayor of the City of Patterson. How many terms is this for you?
This will be my fourth term.
Wow.
Yes, as of Saturday, it will be the end of 12 years.
Yes. What does that say to you when you have no opposition or really not anybody stepping up to say we need change?
Well, I would say if I didn't know that a lot of people just don't qualify anymore because of financial disclosure, having to tell a lot of their personal business or deal with ethics and so forth. But it meant a lot. I mean, you're sitting there and you're watching the qualifying, and that last minute, I was like, thank you, Jesus. I thank God for it, and I thank the citizens of Patterson because it speaks volume that to go another 4 years.
Yes. And before that, I mean, you also served on the council, so you are really top tier veteran.
Yes.
Top tier.
Well, it's a total of 16 years.
Yeah.
And Lil Joe, I was Saturday would be his last minute as serving. Lil Joe is a classmate of mine, but he chose not to return. And he served 20 years. 20 years on the council and so forth. So it's like you want to get to that next. Mr. Gus Leafrey served 16 years. He was the longest 16 years, and so forth.
You're one for the record books.
Yeah.
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 But we talk about your veteran status.
Yes.
I mean, you've been around for quite a number of years, but then you have these newbies that are coming in, and you have a freshman council.
Yes.
3 of the 5 are brand new, and you have 2 that have been there for, I'm assuming the most, I think is Pastor C. or Lee Condell,
Yes.
who has been there for now
4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
And then, of course, Ray Dewey,
10
who has
months.
10 months. And the other 3 are brand spanking new.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about having this new council come in?
I'm not going to stress about it. I kind of know the 3, and I know what their strengths are, but I'm going to allow them to, because one of the things when we have our inauguration on Saturday, I've asked that since we didn't have a campaign, that they actually use 3 minutes of the ceremony to give their platform, to state what they bring to the table and what do they see, and prayerfully what they see it aligns with the vision that we already have moving forward for the city of Patterson.
And they were unopposed.
They were unopposed.
So
correct.
at this point, it's what you see is what you get.
Correct.
Yeah. So just so we can, I would like to name the individuals for those individuals who may not know, who don't live in Patterson. Miranda Winbach, Mamie Sudale Perry,
Yes.
and Demel Bowden.
Correct.
So 3 new members who are joining the council, and they're going to bring their own style, their own flair. And that's kind of just the luck of the draw. That's how things happen when you have an election.
Correct.
So you can have the incumbents come back in or not, or have just all new people at each go round.
The number one thing with the 3 freshmen is we will all be going to Baton Rouge for the LMA conference. I've told them, like Pamela Washington told me when I first took office, you go out and you learn for yourself. So whatever they have in their heads and so forth, how they're going to do this, how we're going to do that, I want them to go to Baton Rouge and know what they can do, when they can do it. And trust me, it's going to take 4 years for them just to learn the basics.
That's it. And of course, you even have a city clerk with just a year of experience, but she comes with a wealth of knowledge.
Yes, she has an all-field background along with banking, and so she's been at City Hall probably a year and a half. And she's a blessing, but she served as a deputy clerk up under the former city clerk, and she's eager to learn. But of course, we call on Pamela Washington. I still have Angela Boyles there, and we call on Angela when we need things and so forth. So trust me, I hate to say it, we're aging out, but however, they're still around and willing to help us out.
Yes, and just so we can date this, because this is when you say Saturday, so it's going to be December 31st. That's New Year's Eve at 10 a.m. at Patterson Civic Center. So if you're watching this during the current cycle, then it is open to the public.
It's open to the public, and the reason that we're doing it Saturday because at 12:01 on Sunday morning, all seats are vacated, and our first city council meeting isn't until Tuesday the 3rd. So we would be a city without a mayor, without a city clerk, without a council, and so forth, chief of police.
That is so amazing how that happens, how
Yes.
that works. And speaking of the chief is actually coming back as well.
Yes,
Gary Grogan,
unopposed.
he was also unopposed.
Yes.
So I guess they're happy. That says they're happy in Patterson. So we're going to talk more about what's going on in Patterson. It's keeping people happy. And maybe if there's some concerns, we'll talk about that too. So come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. My guest is Mayor Rodney Grogan with the city of Patterson. And again, congratulations are in order. They will be having their swearing in ceremony on December 31st at Patterson Civic Center at 10 a.m. and you are invited to attend. But let's talk about some of the good things that's going on in Patterson. Like I said, people are happy. Hey, nobody was really opposed during this last election cycle. And I attended a business after hours and I got an opportunity to meet the new Main Street, or really it's the Lower Traffic Cultural District director or commissioner. Yes. And that was Mr. Slade Sanders. It's an individual. He talked a little bit about his background. He's a native of Patterson, but left and came back. And now here he is with these fresh ideas, from what I'm understanding, that he wants to implement. So what are some of the things that he's been doing for Patterson?
I can tell you this, between Slade Sanders moving back to Patterson and moving right there on the corner in the cultural district, along with Paige and Paige Roussel and Greg Roussel, the property value has increased in our downtown area probably big time because Paige and Greg Roussel, they've invested a lot into the old hotel. And then I think Slade House has basically doubled in value since he's moved back. Yes.
Okay.
So that whole area, the tax value and so forth, is a blessing. But yes, Slade is coming back. He will be appointed as the director, the head chairman of the cultural district. And we have 5 because it's 9 members, and we have 5 of the former members that will be returning, and then council is going to be appointing the other 3. But Slade they will be completing the last part of Morey Park. Money's coming from the state and from the federal government, from the water conservation and so forth. If you locate on water, there's all type of monies out there. So we'll be finishing the walking trail. And then we'll be also moving on to the other parks, Cherry Street Park, Park Street Park, and the other parks. And with all that being said, with the freshness, the newness coming, we're looking at bringing back the community fair. And now Slade did speak about maybe pull it in with the actual Main Street Festival that we normally have. And we're going to try to push that back to occurring during homecoming weekend because it works best. It works best and it allows people to plan and come back home for their class reunions and so forth.
So that's going to be interesting. That means all of Patterson is going to be involved with something going on, because I remember the community fair was held where the
behind the old junior high.
Junior high, Patterson Junior High School, and then if you go a couple more blocks, now you have the Main Street Festival. Is that what you're anticipating? What's going to happen?
Yes. And the number one thing is the festival is, the Shrimp and Petroleum Festival, very unique and awesome. The Harvest Moon, very unique and awesome. And we had the community fair, but then we also had the Cypress Sawmill. So right now, Patterson has nothing. So, and with the Main Street, there's nothing for the children. It's mainly for adults. So Slade and I sat down and we talked, and I told him what vision I had for Main Street. The group that has worked with Main Street for the past 8 years, awesome job. But it's time that we draw more and more people, just as I come and many come out to the Strip and Petroleum Festival, just as we leave and go to Franklin. We want people to come to Patterson.
I am all for it. because it's going to give me something to do.
Yes.
And I think that's what folks want. They want something to do, and it doesn't have to be all for one area. So you have, and I'm just thinking about it, September, you got Morgan City. Then you have September, October will be, you guys will have that.
Yes.
And I believe November is Berwick.
Yes.
And then, of course, the end of November, I believe, is Franklin.
Harvest Moon.
So now we just be able to hop around the parish.
Right, right. And you know, the thing about it is we have so much to offer. You know, the tour of the homes, perfectly we can get that
I love
back.
that, yeah.
The actual, the graveyard, the actual tour of the graveyard, that thing that they had, there's so much that we have.
Yeah.
So much.
Wow, look, that's 2 segments down. We've got 2 more to go. Come on back, because this next segment you do not want to miss. And this is the one that's really going to I think, grab your attention. It's grabbed my attention already. So come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to The Voice of the Coast. My guest is Mayor Rodney Grogan with the city of Patterson. And I told you would want to stay for this segment. And because with all of my mayors, I like to talk about economic development. I want to hear about the cha-ching, the bling-bling. I want it all. So I want to know what's slated for Patterson that's going to bring some revenue to the city.
Well, one thing I'm going to plead with my council, the new incoming council, is that Patterson hire an economic a grant writer, because the grant writers actually know where the money they apply and so forth. Morgan Lee is blessed with his grant writing and so forth. Eugene is blessed. Patterson, we've struggled, and 12 years ago I told them, you need a grant writer, and because you know, we're using our own revenues, and we need to get the monies that the government has out there for us. But we were blessed through the National League of Cities. We applied through a Southern Communities Economic Initiative for technical guidance. And so we will receive $25,000 just to implement and to pay for an economic developer. And so Holden actually is already there, and he graduated out of marketing. He's our human resource. So Holden went to the conference last week along with Councilman Condell. And so Wells Fargo said, we want to come to Patterson. We want to work with Patterson. There was only 3 cities out of Louisiana, and Patterson, New Orleans, and another city. But the other cities are all 100,000 and more. Patterson only 6,000. Wells Fargo took interest, and so they will be working with us, and they're going to actually help us bring businesses and basically let people know Patterson is out here.
Right. So there, you're going to have people out there who are like site selections,
Correct.
and Patterson will be one of those
Correct.
areas.
Correct.
And I believe, and if well, I mean, look, big businesses and corporations don't do anything frivolously.
Right.
They have to know, and I wish more people would, or more of these big companies would see we may only have a small population,
Right.
but there's so many people that travel that
Correct.
roadway
Correct.
daily.
Correct.
And take advantage of that.
Correct.
I don't understand why that's an issue. I know we've talked about this till we were blue in the face, especially with the parish courthouse, parish council. When I first moved here, I mean, I don't even want to go down that road. That's a rabbit hole that I do not want to go down. But there's so much that can be done with the traffic that comes through St. Mary Parish. And
Correct.
I think Wells Fargo, they got it right. And it's so good to know that out of all the cities in Louisiana, only 3, and Patterson was 1.
Patterson was 1,
Come
and
on.
Wells Fargo, they let Lee and Holden sit there for those 3 days during the conference and actually provide them with all the information. They said, we already have our site on Patterson. Okay. So, and it was a blessing because I used to go to all these conferences by myself. And I never forget, I call him my Uncle Larry. He was, years with the council. I would go, but if you have no one there to hit us with you, it's hard to come back and sell it.
Right.
Well, Councilman Condell went, and Holden, who's our millennial, so just look out.
So with that said, and I know it's kind of in the infant stage, but like what are they looking at exactly?
What they're looking at is basically to provide Holden with all the technical skills and so forth that he needs to be an effective economic developer. Also, we're not going to leave Evans out with Evans Boudreaux with St. Mary Parish, but the parish look out for the parish, Morgan City looks out for Morgan City, Franklin looks out for Franklin, Patterson looks at it, and Duval is a grant writer by himself all those years and so forth. So we need the grant writer along with the economic developer. So therefore, I'm thinking that Wells Fargo is going to connect all those missing dots and so forth, and Patterson will be able to contribute to the economic growth here in St. Mary Parish because we have the land.
So how soon do you think you'll be able to get that grant writer?
As soon as we could sell it to the council and sell it to the public.
All right.
Because I'm a firm believer a grant writer, you pay them a certain amount of what they bring in, they're going to go out for the big grants.
Yep. All right. With that said, I love when we get breaking news. So with that said, we're going to go to break. Come on back for more of the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right into it because we've got just a little time left, and I want to make sure we reach these different talking points. Water plant. It's been a minute since I think we've talked because the water plant all started back in 2019, but still going at it.
We're state of the art.
Yeah.
Morgan City, we have the same one. We were the first ones in the state with it, so now Morgan City is going to.
Speaking of that, what about that bottling? Water bottling.
That could be up under economic development.
Okay.
I still say we could sell the water to the schools. I mean, at the schools and so forth, and we get a share, they get a share.
Yeah, that's economic development. We were
Okay.
just talking about that. I know that was one of the things you wanted, so I just wanted to bring that up before. Okay. Overlaying of streets. One of the biggest streets, and you're like, Danica, we been did that, but Hickory. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. Right. I'm so happy that was done.
Well,
but you're still going to be.
Well, before, in January, which is around the corner, we start with Shady Grove. That's one of the rough streets, and Jake Street, and we will be with Bridge Road, and this will be monies that from the cities that we basically refinanced and so forth. Okay. So we're finishing up. Infrastructure is always going to be something, with the freeze, water lines are breaking and so forth, and water mains we're having problems with. But when you talk about moving forward, when you talk about what's coming next and everything, there's so much, but the number one thing is for us to see what the new council members bring to the table.
Yes, they've got.
They could halt growth, or they can contribute to it.
Let's see what happens. Let the games begin. So, housing. I know there's land. There's some land that's out there, and that's whole another segment of new. We're going to have to dedicate to of trying to get the land. But what about housing? Do you foresee, maybe some additional housing coming up in Patterson? With
the current rezoning that we just adopted in Patterson, I see a whole lot. I see the Williams Inc., because we're giving back the baseball park on Red Cypress Road. We're giving that back to Williams Inc. because Williams Inc. has something that they will be unfolding and so forth. We've rezoned a whole lot of areas. And with the rezoning, there's certain things we're going to have a small industrial area with just the minimum industrial, not big plants and so forth. Okay. So we went back and we looked at Patterson and said, well, what could be here? What could be there? And with all that being said, yes, we do have a developer right now that wants to create a subdivision and so forth. We just have to get with council, because what I've always heard in Patterson from my attorney was that we can't do this, we can't do that. Public-private partnership is something that they're promoting around the universe. Yep. So we're going to do it, and that's part of what is going to happen with Wells Fargo. They're going to come in and show us about the key stakeholders and so forth that we have to have at the table. But as for housing, Yes, we do have a developer that is looking at building his own homes and so forth, low-income homes. Um, yes, but we have to see what council wants to do to partner with this developer.
About how many houses?
What I'm looking at, this person owns right now 3 acres of land, and from
That's
what
a
I
good deal.
saw, roughly 25.
Okay. And the area?
The area is going to be in the back of Red Cypress subdivision.
Okay.
Yes,
Along Red Cypress?
yes, but it's in the
Okay.
back.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is going to do it for me. I always give you this opportunity because I tell everybody the only person I know that will talk into the camera is Mayor Grogan. So I'll give you this opportunity because we will probably not be able to make it to your swearing in. So anything you'd like to tell your
I'm going to be honest, if it wasn't for the actual freshmen that would be coming in, I would have just went in with a regular just swearing in. But thank God for the opportunity to serve 4 more years. I want to wish all of you a happy new year. Patterson, where do we go from here?
Awesome. Thank you very much. Take care, you guys.